What's up, Airsofters? My name is Lane, and welcome back to the BB Warrior. Today we're going to be doing another one of our Q&As, and I want to say thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. I got a fun lineup of questions for you guys today. Some of them were my favorites, as well as your guys' personal favorites via the amount of likes that they got. But before we get into our first question, I just want to say, if this is your first time here on the channel, well, welcome to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsofting field through our educational content, and if you enjoy our videos, well, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon next to it for new videos every Tuesday and Friday here on the channel. So why don't we start off with our first question. Our first question for today comes from the user Impact. Do you think that the stigma around Speedsofters is deserved? In my personal experiences, I get a lot of looks from players, probably because they think I'm going to be a troublemaker, so what are your opinions? Thanks, mate, I love the channel. So, I talked about this a little bit during the HPA van video that I did back in January, however, I'll refresh you guys a little bit. I think that no matter what you wear, whether you want to look like a Navy SEAL or you want to look like you're from Tron playing laser tag, I think that there are both excellent people as well as awful people on either side. Whether you're a Speedsofter or you're more of a milsim player, that doesn't affect how you are going to be as a player. Your actions on the field do. So going back to the topic of Speedsofters kind of having a stigma around them, I think that this exists because there are infamous videos out there like Rest in Peace Kid, for example. Now, obviously, with something like that, not every Speedsofter is abusing platforms, which anyone can do. I could abuse, non-HPA, I could abuse HPA, I could abuse anything that I wanted to if I wanted to put my mind to it. So I think that that's the reason why there is such a stigma around them. However, it's not even a percentage of any style of player that causes these issues. And there are, again, tons of people on either side of the spectrum that are both excellent players and are model players, in my opinion, as well as awful players, people that should be shunned for their actions on the field. Now, another thing that I want to mention while we're on the topic of Speedsofters is SpeedQB. I'm really getting interested in SpeedQB and everything that they do because I feel like competitive airsoft has never been done right. I do want to do a full video on this eventually. However, one of the rules about SpeedQB that I really, really appreciate, and I could be wrong about this, but I think I remember reading this in the rule set, is that if even one person on your team is caught not calling hits, and refs are everywhere at SpeedQB tournaments, your team automatically loses that round. That is a zero tolerance policy. And for me, that kind of solidifies my case of, it's not the player that is the issue, it's their attitude. I've seen plenty of guys in the milsim environments get all hot-headed and get angry and start saying things that they will probably going to regret, and I've seen Speedsoft players do it as well. So it's not what you're wearing that matters, it's your attitude. Gatling9 asks, what's your opinion on the Gate Titan Mosfet? Do you own one? Are you going to buy one if you don't? And would you recommend it to other players? Absolutely. I have a Gate Titan in my VFC Mark 18. I love that thing. A lot of my friends are starting to put them in their guns as well, either if they're doing like a DSG or if they just want better trigger response and everything. They are a fantastic addition to your airsoft gun, and they cost less than like a Black Talon Concepts type Mosfet, which is significantly more. So the main advantages of a Gate Titan is, well, you're just going to have better trigger response overall. That's the reason why a lot of people like to throw these in DSG setups. This is something that I've been considering throwing in my Crytac for a while before I bought my VFC, because on my stock Crytac, I just wasn't getting the response that I needed, versus my buddy's stock Crytac with one in, I never had any issues like that. So I would wholeheartedly recommend picking one up. If you're looking for an upgrade for your gun, take a look at them. They are well worth the money. Now, I should mention, don't try to put one of these in if you're not experienced with teching. I didn't put mine personally in, a tech did mine, but they do require some work, especially if you own a Crytac. You're going to need to do some Dremel work to your gearbox shell. So I definitely recommend taking it to a trusted, reputable tech to do that sort of thing. But if you're looking for an upgrade for your gun and you've already done the basic stuff, like a better hop-up and a better barrel, if you're looking for that good trigger response, a Gate Titan is definitely something that I would almost always recommend. They make them for V2 guns, I believe they make them for V3s as well. So if you have the opportunity to get one and you either have the know-how or you know someone who knows how to install stuff like that, absolutely, I wholeheartedly recommend it. I will be doing a review on it eventually, but my consensus is buy it. Alexander Maxwell asks, do you think that the airsoft market is really turning more towards beginner players and somewhat forgetting the advanced players? What I mean is, for every mid to high-end gun that we see come out, there's 1,000 different budget guns coming out, and the same goes for gear. What's your thoughts? Is this good or bad? Now, there are a lot of companies that are reaching out and getting into the more beginner gun category, especially companies who have, offered these premium guns in the past. However, I don't think that's a bad thing at all, and I don't think that they're trying to lower the general skill and the availability of good parts for airsoft. On the contrary, I think that that's one of the biggest places where airsoft is growing. We're starting to see better technology become more affordable, and that's why we see these more high-end companies coming out with beginner guns. We have things like, the Wolverine MTW, which makes getting into HPA significantly easier, especially for those who aren't technically inclined, because you're never going to have to worry about things like alignment or anything like that, and there's a lot of really neat features as well. So I don't think that they're trying to lessen down the skill level of airsoft or forgetting about more advanced players. I just think that better technology is getting more affordable. There have always been companies who produce pretty good airsoft guns for pretty good prices. The GMP is a great example of this. GMP makes a pretty good gearbox, and you can find some of their guns for like the mid 200s. You're not going to get like a super tactical Mark 18 or anything, but if you just want like a pretty standard M4, that is a great option to go to. Or you have companies who are finding places that they can cut cost to make more affordable guns. And you have things like, like the Crytek Alpha series, or VFC makes a lot of guns for Elite Force that are under that $250 mark. And while there are a lot of companies that are making dedicated beginner guns, you have companies like Tippmann, Falcon, Lancer Tactical makes a lot of beginner guns as well as their higher end guns as well. I think that that's just because there should be more variety for people entering the airsoft market. I think that, personally, this is just my opinion, those who are getting into airsoft for the first time, they are less experienced, they don't have as much information, they're not doing as much research as the really dedicated players are. So I think that it's a little bit easier to sell them on that sort of thing. That's just my personal opinion. And that's part of the reason why I want to start doing more beginner airsoft videos here on the channel. I'm working on a bunch of videos for that type of thing that I want to release. And while I'm going to be continuing doing my stuff for the more advanced players out there, I think that there's a lot of misinformation when it comes to new players, and I think for companies it's a really easy way to make money. Especially if it's a really high-end company, and then they also make some beginner guns, and they see their favorite YouTube star using that type of gun. I think that they're going to be more inclined to buy that sort of thing. I think that's the reason why sniper rifles are so popular with new players, is I see a lot of videos out there of, these guys like Navrich or House Gamers or whoever it may be, I'm not trying to call anyone out, getting these super good kills with sniper rifles, and then they see that most sniper rifles are under $150, and they're like, I'm going to do that. However, I don't think that they realize that guns that these high-end players use are more than most AEGs. So I think that it's not necessarily trying to forget about newer players. I think that most companies are just working on ways to make better technology more affordable, and I think that there are some companies out there that like to prey on newer players to make a quick buck. That being said, I'm not saying that everyone that makes beginner guns is trying to prey on new players. I just think that there are some companies that are able to make better stuff more affordable. We're starting to see it in high-end AEGs, and we're starting to see it trickle down into the beginner AEGs as well. Our next question for today is, what is my opinion on tactical AKs? It seems like here in the Western Hemisphere, the sentiment is more old school, more traditional, and yet my rifle is fine, for example. What is my personal opinions on tactical AKs? I have no problems with tactical AKs whatsoever. And you're absolutely right, there are a lot of people out there who like that more traditional style of AK, or they think that, wood is the only way to go. However, there are also a lot of people out there who disagree with that. You have a lot of people who do impressions of modern day Russian military, whether it's grunts or the FSB. Like you have groups for the Russians, for example, which kind of specialize in that sort of thing. So I think that while there are some people that are like that, there are a lot of players out there who don't have any problems with it. And I think that it does go beyond just the impressionist, like RR, for example. And I'm one of those people that does like the more modernized AK myself. Now, I don't like running the super long rails, like I think it's the Zenetco B30 and B31. I could be mistaken about that. I just think that a lot of the airsoft versions are pretty heavy, and I'd rather go with something a little bit lightweight, so I'll go with like a B10 or a B11. For my personal taste, I like Zenetco stuff. I don't really like, Keymod or M-Lock on AKs, just from a aesthetic standpoint. However, I think that these more modern attachments just help the rifle be better in modern day. Comparing it to other platforms which have, modularity being a little bit more native to it, like the M16 M4 platform, I think that it just helps AKs kind of modernize into the modern age. I like things like optics and lights and foregrips and retractable stocks that can fold. So I really like them. Again, I do a little bit more of impressions, so I like to stay with the stuff that's actually used. So, like Zenetco and that sort of stuff. I'm probably pronouncing that brand wrong. But yeah, I love tactical AKs. While there's some that I don't like aesthetically, I think that they're great for just making the rifle better and competing with other somewhat newer designs out there in the firearms world. James asks, how do you feel about melee weapons in airsoft? Oh boy. This one's going to be interesting. So I did a video last year talking about melee weapons, or talking about items that I thought were dumb for airsoft. And one of them that I mentioned was bayonets. And there was a firestorm. That was back when the channel was only at about 800 subscribers or so. And that's actually one of my most popular videos out there. It just got a ton of watch time because a lot of people didn't like how I felt about rubber knives. But I'm going to say it again. I think that they cause more harm than they cause good. I think that, just tapping someone on the back and saying, knife kill or you're dead, I think that's fine. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who disagree with me, obviously. However, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not going to get all butthurt if you like to run your rubber training knife. However, I think that they can cause a lot of issues out there on the airsofting field because, let's face it, people can be stupid. I've seen people do some really stupid stuff at airsoft fields, and I'm sure that you wouldn't appreciate someone trying to go for a jab at your upper torso with one of these knives, especially one of the harder ones. I know some people out there can be like, well, grow a pair and get over it, but I just think that they cause a lot of unnecessary problems. So what do you guys think about rubber knives? I might just be a little bit prejudiced against melee weapons because I don't like them personally, but I mean, if anyone else wants to use them, who cares? Zachary asks, what would you say is the best gas blowback pistol on the market for its price? So this is going to be the last question for today, which thank you guys so much for staying until the last question. I really do appreciate it. But the best pistol for the price point, in my opinion, is the KWC/Elite Force 1911. Now, these aren't the best pistol out there. I mean, there are significantly better pistols out there, like high capas, for example. However, for the price point, those are pretty nice handguns. For like the Elite Force one, they're only like 120 bucks or so. And the thing that I like about them is, one, they last for practically ever. I mean, they're just kind of built like tanks. They run off of CO2. Plus, Elite Force has such a great part support capability that if like anything breaks on there, you can get a brand new part shipped right to your door. So, I've seen issues where guys have dropped them on the ground and like their safety broke or, some little parts like that. Oh god, I can't even think of the word. The thing that stops the slide when you run out of ammo, your slide catch, I should say. I can't think of the word right now. Just parts like that are easily replaceable through Elite Force. I mean, they have, magazine rebuild kits, they have slide rebuild kits, hammer rebuild kits, I believe, frames as well. So I think that they are such a great pistol because, that CO2 is going to be nice and reliable. You're not going to have to worry about running out of gas like green gas does. I just think that for their price, they are a workhorse, and they work fantastically for their price point. Again, they're not the best performing pistol out there. However, I mean, you really can't go wrong. They're at a good price, and if something ever does break, well, the parts are easily replaceable, and you can actually find them, unlike a lot of other brands out there. Well, that's going to do it for today's Q&A, guys. Again, thank you so much for submitting your questions. I really do appreciate it. I like to pick a different variety of questions for this episode, so I hope that you guys enjoyed it. But again, that's going to do it for today's video. If this was your first time here and you enjoyed this video, well, I'd love it if you joined our community by hitting that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that bell icon next to it so that you get updates when we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday here on the channel. Make sure to check me out on social media. Links will be down in the description below, where you can check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's the word I'm trying to think of. You know, a lot of anti-gun stuff has been happening on YouTube, so if something ever happens, you should probably be following me on those accounts. Even if something happens where YouTube isn't viable, I will continue to be making video content. So for more updates about the channel, things like that, make sure to follow me on those platforms. Links are down in the description below. But this has been Lane from the BB Warrior with the March Q&A, and I will see you all next time.